name's Jakinos, and today we're going to be doing a 6 Samurai deck profile for you. I've been meaning to revitalize my 6 Samurai deck for a very long time. Thank God that Gateway came back, and I saw Battle Shogun as a real help. And I've been seeing it a little differently than most people play, so I thought maybe I should throw in my own touches and figure out my own things. So without further ado, let's start what the deck has to offer here. We'll go start with the main deck. Of course, an oldie, but a goodie. Of course, there's 3 legendary 6 Samurai Kigeki here. Level 3, when normal summon, you're able, of course, to special summon level 4 or lower from hand 6 Samurai. It's a great way to start the whole 1-2 combo into most of the combos that I've been seeing lately, especially with the Secret 6, and into Isolde, into Battle Shogun, and into a whole lot of things. Alright, so we got 3 of those. I will say, though, I have seen people actually run 2 or 1, which is ridiculous. 3. This is a 3-er, no matter what, you need this card. I mean, not like you absolutely need this card in hand, but for a lot of different ways to get things going, this card needs to be in your hand. Plus, I know about hand traps, but whatever. This is what you need. Next we have here is 2. That's right, only 2 Kizaru. I did start with 3. I have the 3rd one in my side deck right now, but I don't like how it kind of clogs things up, especially with the other things that I added to the deck. Kizaru, of course, when only... and that's the other thing. When he's special summoned, it doesn't work when he's normal. So that's the only reason. Like, if you get it in hand with a Kizan, which we'll go over in a minute, it's just... that's what it is. Just sacrificial, kind fodder is nothing. So you want to make sure you get it with something else, you know, like this. Or another card I have... or other cards that I have in the deck, of course. And... but when he is special summoned, you get to look for 1 6 Samurai of a different attribute and put it in your hand. So again, it's another card in hand, which is really good, but you only really need 2. If you really feel that you need a 3rd, put it in, but honestly, 2 is just fine. Of course, we have the best extender in the deck, or in the archetype, which is, of course, 3 Kizans. Special summons itself, just like its older version, Grandmaster, but it needs a different 6 Sam on the field, which usually isn't hard to do, especially in this deck. 1800 becomes 2100 attack if there's 2 or more. Great for your, your XYZ summons, Shiens, and of course, Beast, the Horror Beast. That's also part of this deck, part of the OTK. But anyway, let's go to the next bit. We have, of course, the married couple here. Shinai and Mizuho. This lovely couple here. You only need 2 of them of each. You don't need 3 of each. They get so easily gotten to the hand. Even if they're in the graveyard, you can get them back really easily. They special summon each other, so as long as one or the other is on the field, you can get special summon one or the other. Of course, if he's tributed, you get to get 1 6 Sam from the graveyard into your hand. Not himself, and of course with her, which is where a lot of this combo really happens. Tribute 1 6 Samurai, destroy 1 card on the deck. And again, these 2 cards, we're usually going to get 2 blues and a red on the field to do the infinite combo, because you just keep cycling. His ability gets her back in hand, and then he special summons her, use 4 counters, special summon him. And depending on how your field is set up, you might have made an extra 2 or an extra 1 counter. But yeah, only 2 is necessary. Next, of course, we have Secret 6 Samurai Fuma. This is one of those newer cards. Not really, but you know what I mean. Anyway, he's a tuner. He's level 1. Again, great for Shien. If he is destroyed by battle or by card effect, you get a free 6 Sam from deck to field. So, except for himself, of course, which is great. And also the Secret 6, which I didn't mention with Kizaru, have if one would be destroyed, you can banish this from graveyard instead, so you don't lose your feeling. So that's really good. You only need to run 1. I see a lot of people running 2, but that's probably because they're not running Shien Squire like I do. Some people run 2 with Shien Squire, but honestly, you only need 1. If you lose it, you should be able to get your counters from the deck for the graveyard to your hand. You should find a lot of ways to do that. It's not hard. He's also really good for Haberfax because, again, with Shien Squire, with that whole effect. Next up we have here is Secret Six Samurai Hatsume. I only run one. I've seen decks run two. I have it in my side deck as a just in case, but one is only necessary. Her needs, again, to get back on the field, whether you lose your Shinai or your Mizuho, or if you're getting back Kizaru for another card in hand. She's really great for that regard. Again, there's a whole combo set up one way or the other, so this is really good. And what you do with her, of course, and she is a hard once per turn. Banish 2 6-am from your grave in order to special summon 1 6 samurai from your grave. And it could be any 6 samurai possible. Any single one. So that's really good there. Alright. Next up, we have the Grandmaster himself. Grandmaster of the 6 Sam, the older version of Kizan, of course. He can special summon himself. You can only control one. I remember back in the day when we were playing 6 Sams originally, we always ran 2 in the deck. But with everything else going on, you only really need to run 1. So this is definitely staying at 1 for a lot of reasons. And if the whole field gets blown up for one reason or another, his ability saves either himself or one of the 6 Sam from the graveyard back to your hand. Next we have is 1 legendary Secret of the 6 Samurai. He gets special summoned from your hand if a Secret 6 Samurai is normal or special summoned, so that's really great. That's what he's mostly used for. However, his other effect is actually really good too, especially if you want to run Asceticism, which we will get to in a little bit. And because if you banish a card from the grave, he gets the level, attack, and defense, and I think even also the attribute. So you can do a lot with that. Next, of course, we have is 1 Shien Squire. This deck does run Natura Beast and Barkion, and you need Shien Squire in order to achieve that. Other people might use, others to do that, or not even just go with that engine at all. That's fine. Again, that's part of the OTK for whatever reason. But even still, even without Barkion Beast, this great card is awesome because since it's a Shien card, and if it's in the grave already for one reason or another, he can get to special summon over and over and over again with 6 Bushido counters. And if you do the infinite combo, you can absolutely just bring him back for one reason or another. And his ability is really good too because if a 6 Sam you control during battle damage calculation, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and that 6 Sam monster cannot be destroyed by battle. So you lose points, but it can't be destroyed by battle. And again, this is a great way to get the card from hand into the grave, so you can just easily special summon him with Gateway and then go into your synchro summons. Next we have is the FTK card, which is Amazon's Archer. This is actually for... Anyway, you get this card on the field. This is the card where you're going to FTK. Pretty much, you send 2 cards from the field to the grave. You do 1,200 damage to your opponent. You do it 7 times. That's 8,400 damage. So this deck definitely can get that easily. Have there been times where someone effect veilered or even infinite impermanence? Yes, it has happened. So do I go into the OTK? I do. Or if I have one of my Monster Reborns, because Living Fossil is a Monster Reborn, I can just get her back. And I kind of use Appaloosa or whatever else to do to get her into the grave, and then special summon her back, and then go back into treatment. So this is the FTK card. So I said earlier, I don't know if I said this earlier or not, but if I did, this deck can actually be used in Master Duel. There's a few differences, and this is one of them. This card is illegal in the OCG. So if you want to, you can change this card out for a second Call of the Grave, because in TCG it's limited to 1. In the OCG, it's at semi-limited to 2. So, in that regard, you can take this card out, put in a second Call by the Grave, and you'll still be golden. Let's see. Next, of course, is another extender I have, which is my Fire Flint Ladies. This is a lovely card. I love this card, especially for if I do a 1-for-1 or something like that. This card can special summon herself as long as there's another warrior on the field. It's a warrior deck. That's not hard to do. And she can special summon 1 level 4 or lower warrior type monster from your hand to the field. You tribute her, you can special summon her and then tribute her, and then you can get anything on the field, including da-da-da-da. So there are many ways to get this on the field so you can, of course, do your FTK, and this is one of the things. Now, a lot of people have been cutting her. I had her at 3, but I got overran. No joke, second game, in the 3rd round, I pulled 2 spell cards and 3 of her. I was like, that was a waste of time for me. So I luckily did, and I won in the end, I think in the 3rd game, but I was like, damn. I cut her down to 2. Haven't seen much of a difference instead of her getting to my hand or using her, so I think it's a good strategy for 2. Same thing I felt with Kizaru when I cut him down to 2 as well. I see people cut this out completely, like they want to put in Ash or they want to put in Permeance or any of that stuff. I understand. This deck is more of an aggressive version. If you want to go defensive, I can make a defensive version, but I don't really think that's necessary, but not the point. But these 2 cards are definitely a good help to get like another warrior on the field for Isolde, or if you need to get a card in hand to the field and you can't do any other way, this card can help you with that. This is a good chopping block card for a side deck or for extra cards you'd rather have, but trust me, it's a good extender. Play with it first, feel out your opponent, and see what the next game might need. And okay, so let's get into the spell cards. We have, of course, 3 Shien dojos. There's so many people telling me that Gateway can be replaced by these 3. I'll tell you right now, no, it can't. If they were to rework Dojo to say it stays on the field and you remove the exact amount of counters you need to special summon to the field, I'd say it's as of right now, no. I would definitely say that this is not the course, but anyway, that's not the point of this video. So what does Dojo do? When you send it to the grave, pretty much you can get any Shien monster, which again, Shien Squire is really good for this, or any 6-Sam monster to the field. This is also the card that you need to save yourself from a Nibiru. I will explain that in the ultimate hand that this deck can provide later towards the end of the video. But yeah, so pretty much if you have 4 counters on here, you can get anything that's level 4 or lower that's 6-Sam or Shien. Plain and simple. Have 3 because you want to use them. Next is your Pot of Greed, which of course is 3 6-Sam United. Pretty much whenever pops on the field, it only has a max of 2. That's why it is a Pot of Greed. If this thing said more than 2, it would be broken as all hell. It'd only be down to 1 or even banned. But this can also help you with your infinite combo as well, because you just take the counters off of here to do the same thing. But this is your Pot of Greed. Unlike a lot of those other pot cards and everything like that, this is the card that you should be looking for. All right. Next, we have our 3 Shien Smoke Signals. Again, if you don't get your Kigeki, you don't get your Shinais or your Mizuhos in hand for one reason or another, this card is a great card to get. This also can get you Fuma, and there's a lot that this card pretty much offers to get to you. It is unfortunate it is level 3 or below, but again, it's what it needs. It's giving you what it needs. All right. Next would be, here is Asceticism. So this is the card I haven't been seeing a lot lately being reused anymore in 6-Am, and I want this card to actually be really shown really well for what it does. Asceticism is a great card. What it does simply is this. It targets a 6-Sam monster, and pretty much you get to go into your deck and find a monster of a different name but the same attack and bring it to the field. Pretty much this is going to help you get counters on the field if you know the thing. If you need more on the field to do your special summons, this card does that. There's so much that you may need to do that this card can help you with. So like let's see, Red and Hatsume can get each other, Fuma and Kigeki can get each other. You can get Grandmaster out with this if your Kizan is, of course, has the extra 300. But just a little hint, if you are going to do the Fuma Kigeki thing, make sure you're targeting Fuma before you get Kigeki. Or if Kigeki is on the field by himself, like if you were there you go. Let's say you were hand trapped and they said, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, cool. You can use this as a response. So they hand trap. You play this card. It's still at 200. You can get Fuma out. Fuma comes onto the field, and all of a sudden now you have your 2 cards to get going. So this is definitely a good helper. I only put in 2 because you don't need it all the time, but you want to have it. You want to have it show up. So just like with Kizaru, just like with any other card that's a stack of 2, you don't want it overflooding you either. So that's why at 3 I think is a bit too much. So because you rather have the cards that you want in hand. But this is a great card to really think about other things you want to do with the deck, especially if you get stuck with a lot of hand traps. Of course, the best card for the deck is Gateway of the Six. I was so glad it came back. I was one of those people who just bummed out like crazy that it got banned. It wasn't even Gateway's fault at the time. It was because too many people played 6am when it got banned. There was like this one thing with Insectors or something that gave an not even FTK, it's an OTK at the time. But honestly, the thing is this, it's easier to get Gateway today than it was back then. Back then there was no searching cards. There was no card to search for this. So yeah, but anyway, so Gateway, for those who don't know, again, 2 Bushido counters for each summon of a 6am. And it's on either side of the field too. It just each time doesn't even say, to your side of the field. It just says whenever. 2 counters to boost by 500, 4 counters to get one from deck to hand, and of course 6 counters to special summon any Shien monster from graveyard to field. Again, Shien Squire to do multiple synchrons. If you did special summon legendary 6 Samurai Shien, bring that back to the field. Shadow of the 6 Samurai Shien back to the field. If you're using Great Shogun Shien, who's in my side deck, that can come back to the field. There's so many things that we can do, especially with enough counters. Alright, we have, of course, 1 Rhoda. This is a warrior deck, so duh. I don't need to explain that one. Monster Reborn. Man, I've had this Monster Reborn ever since I got it, years and years ago. Yeah, and this is my, well, I started playing the game, I think, around Magic Ruler, so, yeah, by the time I can get one, it was only unlimited. But, hey, still works. Though that still says Magic on it. Anyways, it's good to use. Again, if someone negates, like I said earlier, as that has happened to me before, great to have. Especially if you want to get more counters too. Like, oh, I just need to get this on the field. Call by the Grave. This card is a necessity for this deck. I don't care if you run hand traps or not. Get this card in your deck. There's a lot of people gunning for you, especially 6am with hand traps. Use this card. Now, this card effectively only works against Ash, Ghost, and Effect Veiler, to say the least. But the point is that you want to use it, especially against, especially when people are trying to get your deck to begin with. So just understand, this is a necessity. And like I said, in the OCG version of Master Duel, just take out the Archer and put in a second one of these. You'll thank me, I promise. Next, of course, is 1 for 1. This is a card that has been seeing up for a little bit when it comes to 6am, especially with Fuma, Fire Flint Lady, and of course my Shien Squire. It's a great card because, in all honesty, and I've done this before, I would special summon this. I special summon 1 warrior card with this, and then I'd special summon another 6am or another warrior card or something, and then I'd be like through the whole thing. Oh yeah, I didn't normal summon yet, and it really pissed off the opponent. All right, so the next 4 cards I'm just gonna show off right off the bat are my equip spell cards. For the whole thing with Isolde. I hate this card. I want to change this out. There's so many others that this card was just. Again, people just suggested just use this card for now. It's banned in the OCG, so it's banned in Master Duel. There's so many cards. There's you can use. I was seeing the flute to floor, whatever it is for the Baroness. I was thinking about getting that card to replace this one. So. Don't bear in mind this one, but that one. Living Fossil is a definite you want to have because, again, if you do get in hand or if you need it, this is a good Monster Reborn card. This is a great card. If you get it also to get a fire card, again, you get a Fire Flint Lady, or you can get red. So that's good for that. And of course, this is like your plan Z of crap. I need a card back, and you banished a few, so you might as well get that one card back for whatever reason. It really does help. But these are pretty much the 4 cards I use for Isolde's ability. Use at discretion. This always gets chained away because I don't care about that card. But if I get any one of these cards in hand, I don't feel terrible, but I'd rather not. But what are the chances? Like almost every single time. So that's the main deck. Now we're going to go over the extra deck. So we're going to start, of course, I was saying right now, we have 1 Isolde. When she is Link summoned, you get to get 1 monster in hand. Of course, that monster cannot be special summon or normal summon for the rest of the turn. So be wary of which one you're grabbing. Of course, this is usually the card you use to pitch for Battle Shogun's ability. Again, depending on the situation, you could do that with Kizaru. You can do that with Kageki. It doesn't matter. But I've noticed that a lot of people like to use Kageki for that situation. But I've also seen, again, playing this deck, it's like, I'm not using Kizaru. I'm not doing that whole thing because that's not what happened with the first, combo or 2, so I would just get that and just get rid of that one. Okay, so there's that. We have 3 Battle Shogun of the 6 Samurai. I can see how a lot of people do cut this down to 2, but there have been a few duels where I had to actually redo this whole thing. Of course, if you do 2, then you would need to recycle, and you can, because once you bring this back to hand, this actually goes, back to your deck. So that could be the trade-off. If you feel that this is too much, go down to 2, but definitely think about having 3 for yourself. When he's Link summoned, you pitch a card and go find a card that has can have Bushido counters on it. If you don't have Gateway yet, this is pretty much your Gateway card. And everybody tries to get rid of it, or Effect Veil, or Ash, or whatever. Next we have here is 2 Saryuja. I ended up using 1 most of the time, but the second one is definitely a good backup because you can use Saryuja the first time to put out red or blue, and then you can use a second Saryuja to get the FTK going with your Archer. Again, in the OCG, you can only have 1. So, again, you can use this deck for the OCG. You just need to trade this out for a different extra card. Yeah, so there's that. Now let's see what we have next. Next we have is the one I'm definitely not going to pronounce correctly, is Crystron Haberfex. I know I pronounced it wrong, and I really don't give a shit. This is the card that, if everything else doesn't work out, this is the card that gets you your Shien Squire on the field. You need Fuma on the field first. That's easier to get in hand, and then again, use Saryuja to bring it on the field, and then him, another card, get this out, use his ability, get Squire out, and then go to the races for getting your Natura Beast, Notoria Barkion, and even your Shiens on the field. Next we have one of the most beautiful cards. I mean, this card here is gorgeous. I love this printing of Apeluso. Now, don't get me wrong, the original printing looks really nice, but I just love this artwork here. And the gold from this Maximum Gold set, I love it. I think it really accents everything here that much more. This is a beautiful job. I love this artwork. This is great. But her ability is awesome as well. Mostly, 3 to 4 tributes to her, so I can get 3 to 4 negates. Again, mostly for the OTK, mostly as a safety measure if I get Nibiru'd afterwards, or beforehand, I mean. But there's a lot of times where, even if I do get Nibiru'd, I play this card, just one thing or another, and, I get this out later on. If they had, like, Effect Veil, or if they had an Ash, I can negate with this. It works. Trust me. And it's good prep for, again, next turn. Like, if you couldn't do the FTK, you can have, again, a good prep for next time, so they can't do any effects with any of theirs. So here we have Barkion and Beast. Both need, Earth tuners. That's why you need to have Shien Squire to do this. All the negates against spells, all the negates against traps. This, of course, takes from the top of your deck. But let me tell you, it will be worth it. Because they may have to use 2 or 3 spells, and they might then put down traps. And okay, I don't care, because then this comes out from the grave, and you will definitely have plenty of cards in the grave to use his effect. So you're definitely be good here. You definitely want those negates if that's the way you're going. I have, of course, 2 Shiens. I always keep thinking about pruning it down to 1, but having 2 is really good too, because there have been times where I can't, do one thing or the other, but I was able to get out my Shiens to help with the next turn because things got jostled and screwed over. So this is definitely a good 2 cards to get. If you want to cut them down to 1, that's fine. But like I said, in the OCG, since you can't have 2 Saryuja, you might as well have 2 of these or whatever else you're going to be putting into it. So there's that. Next we have is the XYZ monster. We have is my Shadow of the 6 Samurai Shien. 2 level 4s. This card pretty much just boosts any card under 2000 to 2000. This card is really good with Kageki because pretty much this card can make Kageki 3500. So it's an old thing, but it's really good. It also is really good with Battle Shogun as well, because Battle Shogun starts at 1000, and if his attack is under 2000 with the counters on the field, this can make his attack 2000 and then add the counters on top of that, so he can always be even stronger. Next we have is Primatech Albertine. I know I said that wrong, and I don't care. Anyway, this card is one of the cards you can get rid of for the OCG version. But before that, this is also your guaranteed card to get Archer in hand. That's why if you can't use Archer, this card is not useless, but it's unnecessary. So what you do is you put your 3 Keysons on, XYZ into him, remove the 3 Keysons because of his 3 card effect. You get any level 4 monster, not level 4 below, level 4 monster in hand. And then you can just get, Archer out through other means. But if you can't get Archer in your hand through all the drawing, you don't get Rhoda, this is the card you really want to get to. And again, it's not that hard to do. And then the last card I have here is Abyss Dweller. A lot of cards do activate in the graveyard these days. So this card is a definite good card to stop all that from happening. All of it, it's gone. Especially that turn, you just don't have to worry about oh, I see you stop me from doing this, but I'm going to stop its effect. I'm going to do this other effect. Nope. So there's that. So, as I said earlier, this deck can be used in the OCGs just to make a few changes. This card can be cut if you want, but I think it's also a good safety card, so there's that. This card, again, like I said, can be cut. You need number 75 and number 86 to do everything. So again, since you can only have 1 Saryuja, you can cut out also 1 Saryuja. So you can do what you want with that. But definitely cut this because you won't need it anymore. You can't have this anymore, so that's gone. But hold on to this. So these 2 cards come out, make this 86, make this 75, and you'll be golden in the OCG version of the deck. So before I stop this video, I wanted to show off the perfect hand that you can get from a 6 Samurai deck. This is ultimately the perfect hand, and that is, of course, these 2 cards. This card. This card here. And this card here. Now, why is this the best hand? That is the best hand that you can get, in all honesty, because you have everything you need. Honest to God, everything you need. Once these 2 are on the field, these 2 special summon each other, and once they're on the field, you're going to have 4, 2, 6 counters. You can get blue, and then start with your combos. You're good. You're good. Now, you might be thinking, what if they have hand traps? Well, Effect Failure and Infinite only affect monsters. So you don't have to worry about this being you don't have to worry about this card, unless, of course, unless they use Ash, which is what you use this card for. So if they Ash this, you can just be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this, and you can keep going. What if they don't have Ash? What if they have Ghost? Well, again, Ghost can stop that one time, but it's not necessarily going to really change things. Because let's just say they had Ghost and Ash. So you use this to stop Ash for this, get your second blue, special summon that, they can't stop that. This gets activated to, pitch this, destroy itself, and then this card activates in the grave, right? And then this would come back to your hand. But if they Ghost this one, so it doesn't work, so you can't get from hand, because it's supposed to just stop that effect. You might go, well, I got nothing. It's not true, because you have counters you can use and go from there. Let's just say they don't have any of those cards. They only have, Infinite or Effect Veiler. So that means they can only do something with this. And they stop it. Well, again, you should have counters by this point. And you can just go get another one. And if they do it again, sacrifice it. Get Battle Shogun on the field. Get more counters. Or even Isolde, so you can do that. Get a 6-am on the field. You'll have more counters. Get red back. Put it back. Get more counters. Go get the other blue. Get it back. Go into the whole thing again. It's great. Now, I said earlier about Nibiru. What if Nibiru comes out? Well, that's what you're for. That's what this one's for. You make sure there's counters on this card so that if Nibiru comes out, all you have to do is sacrifice this, go get a card from the grave, not the grave, but go get a card from the deck onto the field, and guess what? You're good. You're golden. A lot of these hand traps are always going to be a pain in the ass. This is your best hand from this deck. Guaranteed this is your best hand. Now, is it always going to work? No. Unfortunately, I can't say it's perfect. It's just a golden hand. It's a god hand in my opinion, but it's not perfect, unfortunately. And for those of you saying, isn't God perfect? I don't know. Have you read the Bible? Anyway, the point is that this is your best hand. Your absolute best hand that you really would love to get. Now, of course, you're not always going to get this, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to show you that this deck doesn't need hand traps. If you want hand traps in this deck, you have to compromise of what you're doing. I can make a defensive version of this deck that uses hand traps. I don't recommend it. But if you want to see it, put in the comments below, and I'll make it. Anyway, that's my time for this deck. I hope you liked the version I have here. I do want to make a couple of changes because, again, I don't want that specific. I don't want that card, that Phoenix Blade anymore. It's just a useless card. I definitely need to change that out. But anyway, I hope you guys like it. And comment, subscribe, link, whatever. And if you didn't like this video, all I can say is it's your fault. You watched this entire thing. You did this unto yourself. And have yourself a nice day. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.